The anime begins on a dark cloudy night. It isn't like every other night, as the dark moon takes the life of a very strong human Tomoki Kanata. A lady stabs him with a knife repeatedly while trying to ensure that he dies. Tomoki thinks about the life he has lived before that moment. He admits that his name doesn't matter at that point, but he knows that that night is going to be the last day of his life. The young lady insists that she will kill him. She calls him his name and tells him he will die. No one gets stabbed that way without knocking on the door of the heavens, and even Tomoki doesn't survive it. However, it is a shock for him when he opens his eyes and realizes that he is alive, but he is no longer alive as a human. It is day 1 of Tomoki's Reborn, and as he opens his eyes, the first thing he sees is a green ugly animal, while a goblin of which he will be too. The older goblin looks at him and thinks about the name to give him. He had once named another goblin born on that day Gobkichi, so he can't give Tomoki that same name, and as a result he gives him the name Gobru. Tomoki, well now Gobru, is so disappointed. Why will the man give him such a low-effort name? He can't even move his body or legs, but all he knows is that he is still alive at the moment, and if it is a second chance at life he will gladly accept it. He closes his eyes again and he wakes up the following day, which is his second day of Reborn. He looks around him and sees several green, ugly-looking kids. I wonder why he condemned them without realizing that he looks just like them. When he looks at his hands, he confirms his suspicions that he is just like them. Does he mean he has been reborn as a goblin? That reality causes him nothing more than tears. He screams because he is weak and helpless in that state that he is. Eventually his tears dry up. Third day he wakes up stronger. He can now walk and he confirms that goblins really grew up early. The elder goblin returns and gives them a meal, then tells them that will be the last meal he will be offering to them, and from the next day they need to track down their meals themselves. To take the elevated off the outside, Gobru walks out of the cave and sees the sun. To be honest, it is really a pleasure to be alive. Although he may not have the type of life he wanted and the kind of life he lived before, it is a second chance at life and he promises himself that this time he will survive. He doesn't even know how to find food and he sees that the sun and the atmosphere look different. It isn't the kind of life he is used to, and he needs a partner to navigate it. He looks at his back and he sees another goblin Gobkichi. He calls Gobkichi and asks him if he is also trying to look for food. He decides to partner with Gobkichi so they can find food together, not for any other reason, but for him to figure out how the world really works now. They target a rabbit and Gobkichi chases the rabbit while he jumps from the top of the tree and kills the rabbit. He realizes that his technique with Gobkichi may not be as useless as he thought it would be. A chase and kill game will really make food easier for him. Before he could catch his breath, Gobkichi went to the rabbit to eat it. He gets pissed at him and hits him, telling him that he doesn't have the right to eat the meal they caught together alone. After teaching Gobkichi a lesson, he goes to the rabbit and takes its horn. Immediately he gets a notification that he has gotten a small rabbit horn. He wonders if he would be able to use the horn as a weapon for his next catch. He shares the meal with Gobkichi, who eats happily with tears in his eyes. The next day he goes to hunt with Gobkichi. After Gobkichi had chased the rabbit, he jumped from the tree and stabbed the rabbit with the horn he had taken the day before. That works really great for him as the rabbit died at the first attack. He further takes the horn of the rabbit and he gets another notification that he has gotten a medium horn. He shares the meal with Gobkichi, and while watching him eat, he gets a notification that he has gotten the skill named Escape. He connects that to his first life, realizing that just as in his first life, he has the magic skill called Absorption. With Absorption, he could eat anything and he wouldn't get hurt. Instead, he would get all the skills and powers that the animal he has eaten. He is glad because it will be better to use the skills here. After all, several monsters are lurking around and he can actually get points and skills from them. He returns to his cave with Gobkichi to talk about the rabbit horn they had gotten that day, and they eats. One of their fellow goblin, Gobmi, a female goblin, comes to meet them, shocked that they are haunted the horn rabbit. She tells Gobru that he is awesome and the last she heard about rabbit horns. It is impossible for them to haunt the horn rabbit because they may get injured. She tells him he is extraordinary and Gobkichi gets jealous and asks if she thinks he is the same, but she says no. Trying to chase her away, Gobru invited Gobmi to their next hunting. Unfortunately, rain falls the next day, which is day 5, and he couldn't go hunting. 6th day, he moves to explore the material and takes a metal to carve as a weapon. During that encounter he sees some women who have been held captive, and for reasons best known to him, he feels pain on their behalf. The next day, day 7, he starts causing his weapon from the metal. As he does that, the elder goblin who had given him a low effort comes to meet him, appreciating his great ability and telling him that if he continues like that, he may level up fast. He asks if he knows his present level and tells him to tap his head to find out. When he taps his head, he sees he is in level 86. The elder informs him that if he enters level 100, he will be able to get to evolve Hobgoblin, but just a few goblins do that within that short period of time. While walking away, the elder informs them that the following day the older goblins who are hobgoblins will return from their trip to the city to get food, and he is excited to see what they will bring. On the 8th day, Gore's newest friend Gourmet helps him hunt down the crimson snakes of the forest. With the strategy of attacking from all sides, Gourmet first launches a rock at the snakes from above a tree, followed by Kikuchi, who uses a wooden baton to hit the approaching snakes. With Gobkichi fighting as a forward, Gourmet fighting as their backup, and Gore fighting in the mid-range, the group easily hunts down snakes, and even a bunch of raccoons. After the hunt is over, the 3 goblins scale the snake skins down immediately and enjoy the fresh delicacy that compares to literal heavens. Gourmet begins crying as she has never eaten anything else before, except the worms offered by the elder, so she becomes greatly grateful to Gore for letting her be on his crew. Gore takes a bite of the snake, which prompts the system to notify him that he has unlocked 5 new skills, including thermography poison, poison resistance, locate, and the evil eye. Having acquired these skills, Gore realizes that the snake must have been a monster of a high level, which makes him happy that he managed to kill. Gobkichi politely asks Gore to let him eat the snake's head. However, Gore doesn't let him even touch it, claiming that the head is poisonous, and he proceeds to eat it himself. For the next 2 days, Gore keeps on doing his usual hunting and prepares more of his hunting gear with the team. They become so confident in their abilities that they make the mistake of exploring caves. Thankfully for them, they manage to escape just in time from a swarm of enraged bats. Just before escaping the cave, Gobkichi showcases his new shield and uses it as a tank to protect the main swordsman in their party. Gore, who begins slashing down the bats, showcasing his skills, and then uses his evil eye ability, prompting all of the bats to immobilize in mid-air. Because of their foolish bravery, they luckily exterminate the entire bat cave and begin to eat them as well. Their appetite is out of this world, literally. By eating the bats, Gore unlocks new sets of abilities called Echolocation, Vamp Up, and Vanphilia, so he becomes satisfied with the outcome of today's hunting. The other goblins in Gore's home start growing jealous, seeing the 3 enjoy such delicacies when they are barely surviving by eating worms, yet they fail to come up with the courage to ask Gore for some spare food and keep watching as their mouths keep on drooling. On the 12th night, the 6 jealous goblins from before decide to attack Gore when he is asleep, because if he dies then they will get all of his food, right? Wrong, that's not how it works. Who's going to provide the food if the supplier is dead? Goblins are stupid. What can you do about it? Anyway, Gore doesn't get beaten though, as he senses their evil intents using his surge skill and single-handedly defeats all 6 of them. Gourmet, who wakes up by the sudden commitment, realizes what's going on. So she too joins Gore and tries to even take one of her brethren's lives. Thankfully, Gore stops her in time and calms her down, saying that they have already learned their lesson. The next day, Gore and his team attack an orc who is just minding his own business and brutally eliminate him, which results in him learning orc skills like libido, orc language, and detecting and analyzing. Right after, they go hunting again, and this time Gore offers all of the food to the goblin house in order to get them on his side. After helping out the helpless in this new world, Gore gets a weird sense of satisfaction and gets proper sleep for the first time. However, the system doesn't let him sleep, notifying him in mid-sleep that he is evolving into a new form called Hobgoblin. Because of this evolution, Gore gets gifted with the blessing of the Grand God of Demise and Origin. However, he doesn't notice the writing on the screen and continues sleeping. Because of this evolution, when he wakes up the next morning not knowing what has happened, he finds himself looking way taller than before and also discovers Gobkichi to have also evolved into his hobgoblin form. Seeing that both of them are maturing to adulthood in just 14 days, even the elder becomes amazed and wonders how they managed to rank up that much in such a short amount of time. Gore proposes to Gobkichi that they go out hunting to test out how strong they have become because of their transformation. However, Gobkichi comes up with a better idea and challenges Gore in a duel to test their new strengths. Both goblins smash their fists towards each other with their full strength, but Gore comes at the top as he seems to have the better edge in terms of power. As a wolf roars in the far distance, Gore senses trouble and asks Gourmet to fetch them the crossbow they had made the other day. It was revealed that a pack of wolves are hunting down wild rabbits nearby, and they don't just stop there, they even go on to devour many orcs. However, Gore doesn't feel threatened by the wolves. Rather, he decides to make them his next target to test out how truly strong he has become overnight. Instructing Dabmi to use the crossbow to shoot down the leader of the wolf pack, Gore manages to distract the wolves towards him, and Dabkichi they takes down every single one of the wolves, one after another, using perfect teamwork. After a few minutes, the two brothers manage to take down all of the wolves without getting a scratch. The leader of the wolf pack gets up with the undying resolve to take down the guy who has killed all of his brethren, but because it is not a main character, it fails to stand a chance against Gore, who devours it and once again attains a bunch of skills, including military leadership. Afterward, Gore brings all of the dead wolves back to the den, where he strictly instructs the other goblins to hunt the same amount of monsters that he has been single-handedly killing in a day to make sure they don't keep on freeloading. But because neither of them possesses any hunting skills, they beg Gore to teach them how to fight like him. After a bit of begging, Gore decides to teach everyone how to hunt and make weapons, gaining all of their support and instantly becoming all of the goblins' leaders. In a few days of undergoing basic training, all of the goblins became moderately trained, but most importantly Dabmi evolves into a fine-looking lady, ready to be cooked by the Riz Lord Gore. The story continues on day 17. All the human women that were captive took their own life, and Gore had a quiet memorial for them with Elder Goblin Gobji. We then move on to day 24, and Gore was training the other goblins. In the meantime, he had also been eating every promising enemy he could find and learned a lot of new abilities. Just then, another group of goblins begins approaching. Gore prepares to protect everyone against them, but Gobji stops them and explains that there are their raiders. Gore then shocked to hear that they're also the fathers of Gore's generation of goblins. The raiders have captured another group of human women, and the evil goblins are glad since their last batch took their own lives. It turns out that goblin DNA is so strong that when they meet with other species, it still results in goblin children. Gore can understand the instinct to reproduce, but that doesn't mean he's okay with what's going on. He requests that he be the one to look after the human women, but this just upsets the raiders. Gore's generation of goblins is ready to stand up for him, but this just begins to divide the two groups. Just then two goblin girls arrive to casually tell the two sides to stop getting themselves into a civil war. They are Hobsato and the mage Hobse. These genius girls come up with a brilliant idea to have the leaders of both generations fight, and the winner decides what the village will do from now on. The raider wants to teach Gore a lesson, and Gore agrees to fight as well. The fight ends very quickly as Gore uses some kind of mysterious string. The others can't understand how he did it, so Gore explains that it just comes out of his body. He then thinks about how its ability he learned that allows him to produce spider silk, and he learned that after eating a demon spider. The girls are amazed that someone like him was born while they were gone, and Gore announces his new official status as leader of the village. He asks if anyone has a problem with that, but no one decides to stand up against him. Gore then tells the humans that he ordered everyone to keep their hands off of them. He won't do anything either, and they will find the time to send them back to a human village. The girls wonder if they will have to do anything, and we learn that Gore wasn't being completely selfless with his actions. He wants the knowledge of the humans. Gore asked them some questions and learned that these girls were part of a traveling business when the goblins attacked them. All the men were slaughtered, and these 5 girls were the only survivors. On day 28, Gore is surprised to see that the girls seemed happy. He realizes that they haven't gotten over everything, they're just having a positive attitude since it will make things easier. Gore cooked for them, hoping that it would help. Among the girls were 2 sisters that are cooks as well as tailors. The one with glasses is an alchemist, and the absent-minded girls an appraiser and a smith. As for the redhead, she is a rookie warrior, so he decides to have her join their training later. Gore then trained everyone hard and insulted them when they got tired. For the next few days he focused on group exercises instead of hunting, and he beat into them the new rules he set for the group. Day 31 was rainy, so Gore and Dabkichi did some really intense sparring as everyone watched in amazement. That night, Gore sensed that a group of goblins were about to break his rule regarding the human women. Gore sliced right through one of the goblins and restrained the others. He reminds them of the rules he set and punishes one of them for talking back to him. Gore apologizes to the women, and the redhead cries in his arms. The other goblins arrive, so Gore orders Dabkichi to take the restrained goblins outside. He also has Gobmi gather the other goblins so they can watch what he's about to do. Outside, Gore sends a message to the others by using these guys as an example. He beats them relentlessly and makes sure that everyone really understands their village rules. Everyone gets the message loud and clear, so Gore dismisses them. Gore stopped just short of ending their lives, which meant that Hobkin, who got the worst of the punishment, passed away the next morning. On day 32, Gober's team uses their amazing teamwork once again to take down a tri-horned horse. It was pretty tough, but there's just meant that he also received a ton of new abilities. Tri-burst is one of them, and it amazingly allows him to deal 3 blows with just 1 strike. That night, the redhead goes to sleep in Gober's bed and he realizes that the incident from the night before must have traumatized her. Gober comforts her and allows her to spend the night with him. However, when he wakes up, Gober finds that Gobmy joined them as well. That day they also find that the female goblin named Gabby evolved into a hobgoblin as well. Overall, things have been going pretty smoothly. Gabmy runs the ranged unit and Dobkichi in charge of their armed forces, Hobsato handles the mobility-oriented force, and Gabby has taken over rear support, which focuses on doing chores. Hobsei would act as the captain of their mage force, but right now she's the only mage in their village. For the rest of this day, Gober leaves the training to the captain so he could head deep into the forest to hunt a variety of prey. Gober tries out some demise magic and shocked to see just how powerful it is, as he easily destroys one of the powerful tri-horns with 1 attack. Gober will only realize after this that the magic made him overconfident as he went into the northern forest. There he finds a strange area with a ton of blood and he remembers something that Gabji told all the goblins. Gabji warned them to never go into the northern forest for any reason. Inside, there is a terrifying crimson monster called the Red Bear. This is where Gober finds himself now, and he sees that this monster easily tore through a tri-horn. The tri-horn's armor was incredibly difficult for them to pierce earlier, but it was nothing for this bear. Just then, the Red Bear appears and Gober acknowledges that a normal person would probably try to run away. Gober is not a normal person though. He wants to fight it, beat it, and eat it to see what kind of abilities he will get. Gober plans to use every weapon in his arsenal, so he starts off by using Phase 1 demise magic. Back at the village, Gabmy becomes concerned that she hasn't seen Gober in a while. The others haven't seen him either, so this just makes her more worried. Back with Gober, he is shocked when the Red Bear sacrifices his right arm to defend against his demise spell. The bear unleashes a flurry of attacks and Gober can tell that the refined skill armor he received from the tri-horn won't be able to protect him. Gober must go on the offensive, so he goes to attack the bear's head. He is once again shocked though when his weapon is unable to pierce its skull and the bear sends him flying. Gober covers the bear in string, but it breaks free and shockingly uses a crazy strong fire breath attack. The forest is covered in fire and Gober must heal his wounds. The attack was very concerning since Gober had never seen or even heard of a fire-breathing bear in his past life. This is a very dangerous opponent, so Gober realizes that he will just have to be willing to take some damage to win. Gober moves in for another attack and protects himself from the fire breath. The beast is pretty tough on the outside, but Gober cleverly uses the fire breath attack against the bear and he pierces it right through its mouth. Gober is pleased with himself, but he is shocked to find that it wasn't enough. The ferocious bear knocks him back, and Gober does his best to limit the damage he takes. Gober still took a lot of damage from the incredibly powerful attack, so he concedes that this round was a draw. His blade is still inside the bear's mouth, so at least it won't be able to use its fire breath anymore. This crazy strong bear still shows no sign of collapsing, but Gober is just one attack away from losing his life. Gober had a huge disadvantage, but this guy is crazy as he proclaims that it would just make his meal taste even better. Gober goes in for more fighting and manages to deal some damage. It's not enough, so he tells the bear that he wants to eat him already and he moves in for another attack, but we see that he loses an arm. On day 34, Gober has finally won the crazy battle, but he barely survived. Gober finally gets to eat the bear, and he receives a ton of powerful traits. Among them are heavy damage and overpowering strength. Gober passes out soon after, but we once again see that he has exceeded his level values and met all conditions. This now allows him to evolve into a rare ogre species. His conscience is fading away, so Gober simply selects yes without reading. On day 35, Gober continues to eat the bear and gains even more incredibly powerful traits. He reaches for his knife, which seems much smaller than before, and Gober is shocked to realize that he has become an ogre. Gober returns to the village, but everyone is terrified of him and they fear that they are under attack. They prepare to run as they wonder why the ogre is smiling at them and they wish the Gober was there to save them. Luckily, Gourmet recognizes him, but instead of being surprised by his evolution, she is mad at him for being gone for so long. She just ends up hurting herself, but she still scores Gober. She is upset that he lost his arm, but the others are all amazed that he took down the Red Bear. Gabji is most shocked of all as he points out that Gober was able to defeat the Master of the Northern Woods just 1 month after he was born. Everyone had questions for him, but Gober was just glad that he survived and was able to make it to his new home in his new world. That brings the episode to an end. Thanks for watching. Want next part? Subscribe the channel and turn on notification bell.